Well, hey there, Aletheia Church. Pastor Kevin here. Just want to spend a few minutes recapping my sermon from Sunday in Proverbs chapter 24, which I had entitled Freedom in Work. And we spent just a very few minutes kind of at the beginning looking at Proverbs 24 and trying to understand kind of the thought process and what is going on here in what Solomon is saying to his son. But ultimately, when you break it down, he's trying to convince his son or make this observation to him that laziness leads to poverty. And so then we spent some time talking through, okay, if laziness leads to poverty of wealth, poverty spiritually, poverty relationally, what would the positive instruction be for us as Christians in trying to follow after God and what He has for us? And so I broke down the remaining kind of parts of our sermon into three parts. The first one being that God, trying to understand God's design for us in work, understanding that work is difficult because of the curse. And then the third one was that Jesus frees us to recapture the joy of work. And so the first thing we did is we just looked at Genesis chapter 1 and the creation mandate, and kind of unpacked this idea of God creating us for work. And one of the things we said that in that design for work that God gave us, He gives us kind of a two-pronged design or way to understand how we're to work. And the first one is that we're to cultivate, and the second thing is that we're to serve. And so hopefully you guys will spend some time talking through that in your group about how maybe even in your current career or vocation, how your work does that and how you can kind of better pursue that and try to capture that. But ultimately what we saw is because of Genesis 1 and because of the creation mandate, all work has value. And I want you guys to spend time in your groups discussing that and working through the reality of that, how that's an encouragement, how it's also a challenge. The second thing we talked about is how work is difficult now because of the curse. And we looked at Genesis 3 and we looked at the curse on Adam. And basically we saw that work has become exponentially more difficult and challenging because of the curse. And I want you guys to spend some time kind of working through the various realities of what that looks like. But I also want you guys to spend some time thinking through the reality of how our sinfulness also plays in to exacerbate the curse and make work in our vocation more difficult. Lastly, then, we finished off by trying to really zero in on this idea that Jesus frees us to recapture the joy of work. And He does that by freeing us to a new standard. He does that by freeing us to a new mission, the Great Commission, and He does that by freeing us from works-based righteousness. And so I hope you guys will spend some time just talking through the reality of how Jesus and the gospel and His work for you frees you to enjoy your work and to live for others. I hope you guys will maybe leave encouraged to have a new attitude and approach to your work. I hope that you'll be encouraged to repent when necessary of how maybe you viewed work in the past, and that ultimately this will be a pathway to freedom and enjoyment of your job, will lead to more discipline, more self-control, more work, and that, in many ways, that we would experience a blessed exhaustion from doing what God has called us to do. Church, I love you. I'm praying for you. Have a wonderful week. Go and be the church.